Thank you for this opportunity, Mr. President. I'd like to ask you a question about the situation in Lebanon.
Apenas dia, mais de 500
So over 500 people were actually killed, and now the Israeli military personnel, they announced that they are preparing for a land attack in Lebanon. And how do you, sir, assess this? And do you think maybe it's time to ask for a global weapons embargo to Israel? Thank you.
I think it's important for us to remember that in Lebanon, the total of death toll is 625. It's the largest number of death toll since the civil war that lasted between 87 and 90. It's important also to remember that 93 women have passed away, 50 children, 258 people that were injured, and actually 10,000 people were forced to retreat and were dislodged from their homes. And also in the West Bank, we've seen the death of a lot of people. We have 5,700 people injured in occupied West Bank, 160 children and so on. And we received that 770 people died, according to the health ministry, from the Palestine. And besides what I call the genocide, it's important to remember that Prime Minister Netanyahu, he was put on trial by the ICC, the International Criminal Court, and he's convicted as Putin was condemned. And it's important that many discussions were made in the UN Security Council, and many attempts of peace and to ceasefire were passed, and he does not abide to these resolutions. And so that's why we are in this fight to strengthen the UN as a tool that has the strength to make the decisions and make things happen. Well, sincerely, I believe that the countries that sustain the speeches of Prime Minister Netanyahu, I think that these countries that support him should make a more endeavor so that this genocide should stop, because we are now under a situation on one side taking care of the planet to see if we have a better quality of life for the planet and we can reduce the greenhouse gas emissions and to diminish the fires and conserve the forest and the water. And on the other hand, on the other side, human beings killing themselves. There's no explanation for that. And so I condemn in a very strong way this kind of behavior from the Israeli government, that I'm sure, absolutely sure, that the majority of the people of Israel does not agree with this genocide. I'm sure of that. It's also important to remember that when everything started, Israel said that it had 1,400 people dead. According to the Israeli government, that is to say, the number has fallen down to 149 of people that were murdered. And so we're fighting to free the hostages from Hamas. It's meaningless. It is meaningless to keep people hostage, innocent people. And so it's important that Hamas give its share of the contribution so that we can have much more emphasis and demand on the Israeli government to release the hostages so that things can go back to normality. So that's it. I think that humanity cannot live with and accept and consider normal what's going on in Israel and what's going on in the Gaza Strip and what's going on in Sudan, Yemen, and West Bank that is occupied.